All right, hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I made my solar outdoor water shower. I got this battery powered rechargeable sprayer thing, and you can see it's not a super powerful thing, but it is USB battery rechargeable and it does spray. So this is one option I have for this cable, and let me show you the second one real quick. All right, and here's the second option. Now this is just a gravity feed shower, and you can see it actually works really well. I'm going to show you how I did all this and what I did to make it work, and I'll show you a few things that didn't work too. So let's get at it.
All right, so my outdoor shower is going to start with what's in this box. Then most people who make these custom outdoor showers, they use a PVC pipe, a round PVC pipe that you could get at the Home Depot, but and I did that for my Element, but for this one I got something in store. It's I'll show you it in a second. So what this is, it's basically 5-inch fencing, vinyl PVC fencing that I'm going to use instead of the pipe itself. I'm going to have to cut it to around 54 inches is what I decided that I was going to do. This is an 8-foot length that I got at Amazon, and there's a link in the description underneath. Okay, so next up, now that it's cut, I have these end caps, and these are fencing end caps again, and we're just going to put it at the end. Okay, so I didn't silicone caulk this yet because I just want to mock it up to make sure it fits before I seal everything in.
All right, so that's how it's going to look when it sits in the car. You see it fits inside the rack really nicely, and yes, I did plan it so that it doesn't stick out or it doesn't use the space efficiently. So it's going to come out this side, and I'm going to put my drain on this side. Okay, because I'm going to paint this black eventually so that it'll be a solar heated by the sun, so the black will make it hotter. I'm going to use black caulking. It's going to look a little bit odd right now, but it won't once I paint everything black. And I'm going to, instead of using the cement, PVC cement, I'm going to use caulking instead. This is not a super secure fit the way round PVC is, and when you're using that, the cement makes a really watertight seal, but because it's not a super secure fit, I'm going to need to have some caulking fill in the little edges on the corners. I'm going to put some on the edges too, so they'll hopefully self-seal as I slide it in. Get that tight, and then I'm going to fill out the edges. All right, so this is the fitting that I was going to put on here. I got this bulkhead, this elbow connector, and the spigot itself, and I would put it underneath here and mount it up like that. And I don't want to seal off this end first because I want to do all the drilling and all the screwing. All right, so now we got this hole. We'll be able to feed in the spigot, but before I do that, on this side I would make the access hole where I would pour it in the water. Alright, so what I have for the bulkhead on top where I put in the water is this bulkhead, and I'll leave a link for all these things in the description if you need it. So this one has a cap, so I could be able to cap it up and release air, so that when I need to aerate it when it's in use, I'll be able to do that easily. Got a mosquito around here. But anyways, I'm going to drill a hole to mount it up right there. Alright, so now that I got these holes drilled, I need to put in the bulkheads. The top one I have the big one. And I want to put these in now before I seal this all up, of course. So what I want to do, this top one, I have a seal, so I could add water, of course, that's important. Alright, that's on tight. That's the cap. That's the way it'll look on the inside. So this is where I'm going to add water through a hose, and this bulkhead is going to go on the bottom where I'm going to access the water from underneath. Okay, I got both. I'm not gonna add the spigot yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test the water, just test to see if this leaks before I do anything else. And so I'm gonna fill it up all the way to the top and see if it leaks.
I was debating whether to put this in the video or not, but I decided to just put it in the video. You see the silicone caulking that I had, it just wasn't strong enough to hold it. It seemed a little soft on the inside too. I think because I had to lay it on so thick, it never really gave it a chance to dry up or something. But I'm going to clean this all up and just go back to the traditional PVC glue. Alright, so I was finally able to clean out all the caulking. I did the best I can. There's just a little bit of remnants left, but for the most part it's clean. So next up, I want to use epoxy. I bought some epoxy. Let me show you what I bought. This is the epoxy I bought. This is plastic bonder, and it says it's good for PVC too, so this is PVC. And in addition to that, I got some putty epoxy, and I'm gonna make a putty and then line the edge with it, the inside edge, and when I put down this piece right here, it should fit perfectly to that mold and form a perfect seal. And then in addition to that, I'll have epoxy around the whole perimeter too. Okay, so the direction says to rub the putty together until it's a uniform color, and then kind of mold it into whatever you're going to do. So I'm going to make a thin roll and then roll it all the way around. Gave up on the rolling technique. All right, so it's all around the edge. I'm gonna change gloves and work on the other compound. So this is the traditional type of epoxy that I'm used to using, where you just make two equal lines and you mix them together. Can't waste too much time gathering your thoughts or anything like that. So let's just do it. All right, let's get that in. We'll put it in the tube and put some pressure on it, and hopefully everything will mold perfectly. Everything is in nice and tight, and it'll hold water this time. All right, so now I have them both epoxied in the same way. I'm going to put some epoxy on the edges too, on both sides. I'm gonna put some, just to fill up whatever little holes there are in case some water does get through. A second line of defense and a second seal. You know, the first seal is on the inside of this and on the edge, on the inside on the edge. So I want to put some on the outside too. And then that should be good and watertight, and we'll test it up after that. Right, you can see I put the epoxy on the seams. It's not the prettiest job, but it gets the job done. And I did both sides. And what I want to do now is I want to have a vent hole, and I'm gonna put a vent hole right here with a little with a nozzle so that I could open up the air valve so that water could flow freely. I can vent it by just unscrewing this, but I know if I start doing that, I'm going to leave this cap off and drive off without it. So I want to have a little latch just in case I forget. Nothing catastrophic happens. So this is the valve I want to install here. I just want to drill it right there and kind of just let the threads tap the hole itself and put in some silicone caulking to form a good seal. Just drill a hole and put it in. All right, so I drilled the hole and I just used this thread on this to tap it. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of silicone tape instead of the caulk, and then that should be it's pretty secure, so it should be tight enough to make it watertight and airtight. All right, so now I could open the valve, close the valve, open the valve, and that'll let air in. All right, so that's the way it sits inside the rack. So I cut it to fit pretty much perfect. And here's the valve to put the water, not the valve, the hole to put the water in. There's where the water is gonna come out. And now I'm gonna hook everything up and test it out. Next up is painting. I got this taped up, so we gotta paint it so that the sun can heat it up while the sun is out. So I'm gonna paint it black. All right, I got the paint on. I'm gonna let it sit and dry for a day or so, and then we'll come back at it. All right, so now that it's all painted black, it's gonna be able to absorb some heat from the sun and warm up a little bit better. There are my nozzles. So now I'm gonna put on the valve. All right, so I got this elbow in here, and I got a little leg extension and an elbow, and I'm gonna bring it out here so that I could access the valve easily. And I'm just using compression fittings. You could glue it in if you want, but the pressure is pretty low, so I don't think you need it. All right, I had to put the phone down to get that in there. Tag out. That's the way it looks. Let's put on the valve. All right, so this is just a normal garden valve nozzle. So this is small and compact, that's off, straight through for the on position. So let's fill this thing up with water and test it out for leaks, and then we'll do the holes after that. Let's make sure it's watertight. All right, it's got a good amount of water. If you look at it, let's make sure it's all watertight. I splashed some water, so there's going to be a little bit of moisture. Let me wipe that out. It looks good. So I think it looks good. It's watertight. What I have here is an electric spray bottle, and this is just a USB rechargeable spray bottle that I got off Amazon. You push the button, it sprays water, press it again, and it shuts off. So this is meant to work with this spray bottle, but you know me, I love to hack things. So I'm gonna take off the bottle part. And what I have are these adapters. And what I'm gonna use, I'll show you. This is just a normal threaded to 3/4 slip. And this is a slip to the garden hose extension, and here's that quick connect garden hose adapter that I have there. So this just slides in through compression, and you may need to glue that in for it to seal. You may or may not, but let's take a look at this. This bottle thread is pretty coarse. It's pretty coarse. Oops. Accidentally turned that on. It's pretty coarse. And I want to compare it with
this thread, which is more fine. So it's not going to be a perfect fit, and it's not going to seal real tight by itself. So I'm going to try to wedge it in there with some Teflon tape, and hopefully that's going to give it a good seal. Put it in there, and then this I'm going to put together. I'm going to seal this in. Push the power again and seal it tight, and hopefully that's not going to leak. I might need to put in a little bit more Teflon tape, and I may even need to use some glue, some PVC glue, just to keep it sealed. But I'm going to try it without any kind of glue and just Teflon tape first and see how it goes. And if it leaks, then we'll try the glue. All right, so I got the coil, and what I'm going to do is open up the valve, and you can see water is starting to drip down through the coil. So I need to prime the coil a little bit just to make sure there's water throughout the coil so that it can start pumping. All right, snap it in. At least right now it's not leaking, so let's give it a shot. Not bad. I don't see any leaks. So let's give it a test. Okay, so plan A was not a success, but it worked. It just leaked. So I'm going to take this guy and, oops, fix that. I'm going to, actually, I'm going to use the threads in this bottle. And of course that fits perfectly. And it also makes a seal with the inside if you screw it in tight, which I didn't really take into account because I think it might have been leaking through this ring also. So I'm going to need to use this. And what I want to do, again, another stupid crazy hack, see this top, I'm actually able to put in a 3/4 PVC that fits really snug with a little bit of glue. It'll be a really watertight solution. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this water bottle and I'm going to chop off this top part so that I could have this thread part of just the water bottle. So I'm going to throw out the water bottle. You know, if you fail, you're out $15 for the water bottle. But if you succeed, yeah, I think you got something pretty good. So let's give it a shot. So I'm just going to take a hacksaw and take out that. So the inside there's a lip, and I just want to cut it as far as the lip, that lip goes, and it's basically like right there. So I'm going to try to get as close as I can. All right, so I hacked it off. I probably went a little bit further than I wanted. I wanted to keep all of this part that's dangling, but I'm going to cut that. So I just took off that little shaving that was dangling. If I timed it right or planned it right, I would have cut it perfectly and I wouldn't have that. But the good thing is now I have this adapter that I could use to get this guy in. So, looks like it's a little bit more open on this end, and this side's a little bit more closed. So I have to do some effort to get it in. All right, so what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to just grind down this a little bit with my stone grinder, just so that it tapers a little bit. It's just so close. I mean, it'll stay, but of course it's not, it's too big. And this side, it's just perfect. So I thought it would go all the way in, but it just doesn't. It's really close, but it's not there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grind this to taper it a little bit. And while I have my grinder out, I'm going to clean up all this stuff so that it looks a little bit more streamlined and less jaggedy.
All right, that looks nice and clean. All right, I have a connection, PVC glue, and we should be good to go. All right, I'm just gonna use some clear PVC cement. And if you're wondering, hey, I don't have a stone grinder to grind this down. You actually, with some work, you could just use rough sandpaper too. It'll get the job done. It's just a little bit more effort, and you know, you wouldn't be able to do it in 30 seconds or anything like that, but it's doable. That. Okay. And we're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna give it a test again tomorrow. So the advantage of me just using this technique instead of my previous is that I don't need all the adapters and stuff. I just have one slip. Um, what do they call this? I don't know. It's the outside slip instead of the inside slip to the garden hose. And that's it. So let's hook it up and give it a shot. So I got the nozzle on, spray nozzle, and I have that quick connect adapter on. So I'm going to plug it up to the hose and see if it leaks. All right, so we're gonna give this thing a shot. So what you want to do first, you'll want to get the water, prime the water down. So let's get the water down first. The tube, put that on. See how this thing goes. All right, no leaks. See that? It's nice and dry. Can adjust. Let's go here. You can see. You adjust a little bit of how powerful it is. You know, it's not super powerful. It's just a spray bottle's worth of stuff. And then you could, of course, you could do a mist, but you don't want to do too much of a mist. And that should be plenty for me to take a shower or hose something down. If you have longer hair, probably going to need something. You might need something more powerful, and it might be enough. But you know, this is working pretty good for me. Okay, so next I want to make a gravity feed shower. What I'm going to use is this nozzle, and you've probably seen this nozzle before. It's just a water bottle nozzle. Put on a regular drinking water bottle and you can spray it out. I'll leave a link again for all the stuff that I use. This is a very handy thing. I've used it on numerous occasions. And I'm gonna glue it to here. The fit is not perfect, but it's pretty good. So with just a little bit of epoxy, I'll be able to glue that in and it's gonna work perfectly. So, all right, so this side I have that epoxied in. On this side, I just have a slip and the hose adapter. So this is the garden hose type thread. It's not the regular PVC thread. Take the garden hose, snap-in adapter. Screw it in. So now I can quickly connect and disconnect to my water tank. Use this adapter I have here. So this adapter, if you just open up the valve, you're going to have an outdoor shower right here. And this is just gravity feed. It works great. It gets you quite wet. So the last thing to do now that it's all tested and stuff like that is I need to strap it down. I just got these regular straps from the Home Depot, some Husky straps, and I'm going to strap it in so it doesn't go anywhere.